Old Queen's Head studio. We haven't got a name for it. We need to.
Heads, isn't it?
Is it Heads?
I think so.
Okay, you're in the Heads studio at the basement of the Old Queen's Head pub. My name's Tayo.
My name's Max.
And I'm a DJ, resident of Fabric, and just been DJing for the last 10 years or so, playing breaks, house, whatever, bass music I like to call it. So the first thing you did, I guess, command kind of the drums, isn't it?
Right, so this is the kick. We're using on the kick Contact 2, and we've just just got a kick going here. It's just a sample off Sample CD, and we've got a bit of stereo widener just to make it sound a bit kind of fuller, and a little bit of EQ on there. That's just giving it a bit more kind of slap to the kick, so it will just come through a bit more in the mix, really.
We actually changed the kick on this, and I mean the reason we started off with another one, but it was just a bit flabbier, you know. I think when Max goes in to EQs it just stops it slapping around, because once you've got the bass coming in, once you've got the other bits coming in, it's just really important just to get, when you're playing out, when your tune to be coming in, for it to come in strong, it's just really important to just get the right bit of the kick there, because as I say, otherwise it just kind of flops around in the mix and it gets lost. I mean, the way you've EQ'd it, actually, when we come to the bass, it actually sits on top of the bass, doesn't it?
Yeah, you need to kind of EQ it so the same frequencies are not being used up in both sounds. Otherwise, you won't hear one of them.
So yeah, we got that's the kick rolling.
Yeah. So that's the snare. What kind of snare rib shot type thing.
Again, I'm really from a sort of reggae background kind of thing. So I've got this thing about reggae always has the one drop, the snare on the 3 kind of thing. That's kind of like the kind of steppers reggae vibe of King Tubby, Jammy, and so on. So again, it's like it's a 4/4 kick, but we're trying to make it, again, like I said, I'm playing a lot of breakbeat things, so still trying to get some percussion going in there so it doesn't feel too straight. It's not like snares on the, it's not like an 808 clap sort of thing, or just an offbeat hi-hat, so that'll feel too housey. So that's a little bit random, I think, anyway.
I think it's pretty simple, this now. I think there was only a little bit of, just a little bit of EQing up the top there to make it sound a bit brighter. Yeah, there's a bit of stereo widener as well, which I seem to use on all my beats to make it sound wide and flat. Got a little bit of a filter on there, which is it's like a phaser, but it doesn't move, and that's got a bit of delay on it as well, just to make it sound a bit W, I suppose. So we just tap that in on the keyboard, and then manually I just went in putting the tiny little rolls in between it, so it sounds kind of like a proper drummer going for it. Yeah, there was a lot of kind of changes in velocity on that to make it sound like
get that little roll, yeah. This probably took the longest trying to work out the variations, just because we were trying to keep it feeling a bit human. The first time we did it, we just had the same one rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling, and it didn't feel quite alive enough, you know what I mean? So got the old 2 fingers out. It's just, it's not rocket science at all. It's a couple of different, just playing different, because they're obviously slightly different tones or wherever they are. And hitting the same one gets a little bit boring, even if you put the different velocities on, it won't feel live, and hopefully it kind of feels live. So we just got a little 32 bar loop running and came up with different patterns. The rolls, as I say, as Max said, the rolls that are kind of in there, once we put them in and it was quite straight, then how did you put in the little kind of coastal?
I just drew them in with the pencil, and then I adjusted the velocities, so every main one is at full velocity or near full velocity, and then the little ones that I've just put in kind of are lower, going up higher to the main one. So it gives that kind of roll. So you can see on that one there. This is Contact 2 again. Again, it's just out of my collection of sounds of drum hits.
We tried to do it first of all I use battery. I use battery 3 on here. Try to do it on there. It sounded fine, but again, like if we do it in battery, I'm always going to take it over to, because we always finish everything in Max's computer anyway. We just kind of did the patch again in Contact.
This hat here is a loop that Tayo made on his computer, and it's basically with hi-hats. You always want to use different hi-hats. If you use the same one, it just sounds like noise. So yeah, it's basically that. And then again, I've got a bit of stereo spread, so it's really far out in the mix that way. And then we've got some reverb on it as well, to take it quite far back in the mix. And then I've in the EQ here, I've taken off the bass totally, so it's just real kind of high and tinny. And then with the kick and everything else going on, it will just sit nicely in the mix. And
someone told me once, which is a good thing, is take bass out of everything that doesn't need to have bass in it, because that's what muddies up a mix.
Yeah, there'll be frequencies that you can't hear, but they'll just be they'll be in there anyway. And if you're not taking them out, they're all going to multiply and use up space in the mix. We've got this loop. It's a weird kind of percussive thing.
That was one I wish I could tell you how that was done, but I can't, because I did it ages ago, and it was a beat and it got a bit crushed. But it was when I first got Logic, and I was just like putting all the plugins on and moving lots of bits and pieces around, and it turned out really, really mashed up, and I've got no idea how it got done. But it does go in the show, and we were talking before we started this about not just taking a preset or not just taking a loop and shoving it in. This happened, I just quite liked it, and it sat on my computer for ages and wanted to bring something to the table when Max was doing all the work. So I got this, we'll do this. So that's the story of this loop. So it just goes into the mix. Again, it's around the time when someone was showing me how to I was side shading everything to everything and coming out with lots of mashed up. This was side shading to like a sort of just some ghost hats basically, and it just sounded really meshed up, and it sort of went into the mix, went into the tune without getting in the way. So yeah, why not? Gives it just a bit of, gives it a bit of dirt, gives the track a bit of atmosphere, because you've got the hats doing their business, but it's just nice to have something that you're not quite picking up what it is, but you know it's in there in the mix. Just again, I was just talking to a producer, Jesse Rose, at the weekend, who always puts in crowd noise or crackle. Who hate me for saying that, but now you know. He just always puts in loads of crowd noise and crackle that you can't exactly immediately pick out, but it's in there. It just gives the track atmosphere when it's out loud.
All right, so this is the whole beat. So this is a kick, and we got this rim shot, and we got the snares. We got this one, and we got this, and there's the beat for it. This is the bass that we made. We split the bass into a kind of high bass and a sub bass. The sub bass we keep in mono, so when it's cut to a vinyl, you don't break the cutting head of the vinyl. Also with sub bass, it's a good idea to keep it in mono, because most big sound systems have all their sub bass in mono. This is the sub bass version, and this is the high version. version we've got in stereo, just so it moves about a bit. It's a bit more interesting. If I open up what we've made this in, it's Absynth 4, which we use a lot. Basically, we used 2 oscillators, both with sine waves. We changed the number of voices, which makes it sound really kind of smooth and weird like that. And we got some filters being with envelopes on them, so that's all changing round. And then we've got a notch filter down here and a bit of distortion. And the notch filters, it's got an LFO controlling that, so that moves about a bit as well. I'll show you some of the envelopes that we've got here. Some of the envelopes are quite weird. Just controlling like the filter sweeps and pitch, amp. The LFOs are here. Just both of them are doing filters, 2 different filters. So it's basically just slowly opening and closing or moving around the notch filter to give that weird kind of twisting sound to the bass. It's just like a Reese style drum and bass thing that all the drum and bass guys do. Just basically loads of 3 different sine waves. You can do it with sine waves or sawtooth waves, and you just detune them. So all these here are detuned, and then you just have a filter on them, taking off the high, and that's the sub basically. And then obviously you can put a distortion on it to make it real even. I'll now show you the ducking that we've got going on. Basically here we've got just a compressor, and then bust in through the side chain is a kick, which is used a lot in kind of house and stuff. And here it is up here. So it's one at the top here. So you don't actually hear that, it just controls every time it runs over one of these. Instead of playing it, it just squishes down the compression, and then when it goes off it opens it up again and gives you that kind of... And it's good for when you've got the kick going as well. Kind of fits in so you don't have to take all the frequencies off so much in the mix.
If the bass is just sitting up here in your head all the time, then it's going to work. You know, it loses. It doesn't get any. It loses its surprise. It doesn't feel like it feels like it's been in all the time, and you're going to get bored of it. And the whole thing, I mean, about that gated loop or having a bit of noise or having the bass ducking in and out, it means that you start imagining it. Because you think you worked out how it goes, you worked out how the beat goes, you worked out how the track goes, but you start imagining things that are there when they're not, when they've disappeared on you, but you're still rolling to it, kind of thing. And that's what, you know, over a 2-hour set, damn, you're going to need that more than anything, you know. So that's why it's important not to have sounds sitting. That's why it's important to get, you know, to put the hats back in the mix, to have all this, to have one sound that is only coming out of the left channel or whatever. It just means that you start imagining all these things. Your brain starts putting them in different places, whether they're there or not. Do you know what I mean? So you start imagining stuff. So that's what keeps me excited anyway. Because if you're talking about tunes that don't change that much over 5-6 minutes, you need to start tricking brains into doing stuff. Oh, that bass. That bass.
So we've got another bass here.
Just thought a lot had been happening. A lot had been happening down here. These frequencies down here. So just wanted to lead into this section, which, I mean, I'm a big dubstep fan, and we've both been getting excited about it again. Similarities to drum and bass mean that it was easy for us to talk about it. So we knew that this section was coming up. So just near the end of this, if you go a little bit further back, because that bass only starts coming in like about the 8 before, doesn't it?
Or back again.
Yeah.
This is one that I'd made beforehand. It's the same, more or less the same thing as I showed you before. We've got a sub one, a low one, and like a higher one. So this is the higher one. No bass frequencies at all. On that one, we've got a whole load of different things on it. Got some EQ, some filters, distortion, the stereo widener, some more EQ. Down here we've got a phaser and some chorus. I'll go to the other one, which is here. It's got a lot less going on in it because we don't want it moving about too much in the mix. We just want it sub. So we just got a bit of EQ on that, and a low pass filter taking off all the high, basically. And when you put them together, they sound like that. And then we've layered those over other bass that we've already got. So that's all the bass going. So it does one, then the other, then subs them together. And it just gives a nice kind of feel to it. We adjusted the envelope on this bass as well, so it kind of fades in as well. It's got a bit of attack on it.
You've got your pianos in Logic or in the EXS, for example, but they sound like a grand piano. They sound like you're going to play proper music on it. So twist them up. It's a total waste, and always have to bounce it down afterwards because it takes up so much of your processing power. But the Space Designer is so much fun. And I've got a developer's bathroom that, I don't know why I called it that, but I did ages ago, and then just you can sort of just make it a bit more wonky so it doesn't quite sound like the glide. I mean, you've got so many parameters in the XS24, you could be there all day. But take the attack up so it's not doing a heading when he comes in, and then stick some distortion on it. The Bit Crusher is wicked, and I like taking it to 8-bit because it just sounds a little bit more crunchy. And it doesn't sound like a grand piano as much anymore. It's not. Again, I did the same thing with the horns as well. So we've gone from which just sounds like a grand piano, because it is a computer. And you're not gonna. You could go and find a sample of a King Tubby record, but I used to try and make it sound really like it was made in the 70s, but it isn't. So there's some really good sort of digital dub stuff which I listen to. There's a guy called the Iration Steppers, which you should check out, or Dubmatics or Dread Zone or people like that who they sound like it's computer dub. It's 2007, so there's nothing wrong with that. So that was how that sound was made. Just then, I'll make whatever MIDI pattern from. I'll either take not MIDI pattern. I'll record a loop of it, bounce a loop, give it to Max. I try and only affect what the sound that I'm trying to make, because Max prefers to use the plugins in Logic, and if I put too many effects on it, then when it comes to the mix down, then the sound's a bit shafted, isn't it? So I try and give the sound in its kind of baldest form to then, because we do all the mix downs in there. If you don't want to, again, you can just, you know, you can listen to all your King Tubby records and get the samples that way. But the best thing to make like Logic instruments make a piano not sound too much like a piano is the glide. When you start messing around with the parameters here, but just to sort of detune it slightly, kind of just makes it sound just a little bit more wonky. We're dealing with 4 o'clock in the morning twist up sounds, you know what I mean? On this track, did all the the pianos and the horns and the flutes and so on in here, and we just take them over to Max. This is like a brass section, and this is playing. It's playing that, and this one's playing. It's no point getting them to play that. It just sounds. Actually, it just sounds a little bit more realistic. Just getting them to play different harmonies. Because if they're both playing the same one, it would sound like. It's just a bit boring. So bus them to the Space Designer. Put all the effects on. I don't know why this is what Max keeps on telling me to do. He prefers it if I put all the effects onto the bus, and I like putting them on all the tracks. But he says it's really messy. So apparently that's what you should do. Max will tell you why. But did the same thing with the horns as I just did with the piano. Basically, just put some distortion on there, and lots of reverb, so it sounds. The good thing, the reverb kind of is almost like trying to mask the fact that they sound like they're from a computer, you know. So that's kind of how it seems to sound a little bit more authentic. So that's all that was done with those.